about 2 years now since I made my first video on the Matt Mercer Effect, and that time I was less than 100 subs and was really just making these videos for a few friends of mine I had in my local area. And then shortly that video in the following week jumped up to 500 views and then jumped up to the around 1,000, 2,000 range that it's sitting at now, and that blew my mind. I could not believe it, because that was my most viewed video at that point, and I was completely blown away. And yeah, it made me feel like I could actually do more. Because, I mean, look at me. Just look at him. Look at him. He doesn't know that anyone cares about his opinion online. Look at him. He can't even look at the camera. That freaking dork! Now I'm a little more confident in myself, and also I got a better understanding of the entire situation now. I'm a little more internet savvy, more savvy of D&D community. I've heard a lot of different opinions on it. Because the original video was me literally live reacting to basically my thoughts on it, because it was early in the morning, I was eating breakfast, and I saw the article, and I felt like I should address it since I told my small following at the time, usually Critical Role was a good reference point for what D&D is. So I felt like I should give my reaction on it. So it was like 7 a.m., I had just woken up, wanted to talk about it, and somehow that's what got all the eyes on me. Man, and because it was apparently such a hot topic that my small Alabama self was getting recommended to a lot of people, and a lot of people were seeing the video, and it was doing pretty good for a while, and then every other D&D creator made a video on it and completely dwarfed mine. First off, what I want to talk about is the Reddit thread itself that I feel like helped spread this idea even further. Because this went from a Reddit thread with barely 4K upvotes to... I hear this article get referenced a decent bit when it comes to the conversation. At least this Reddit thread in particular. And something obviously helped that spread, because 4K on Reddit is pretty decent, but in comparison to a lot of Reddit threads I've seen, that's not the biggest deal to get referenced as big as it is. And the article says, and I quote, "Heartbroken Matt Mercer replies to frustrated DM." Naturally starting out, it had a really clickbait title that I felt like really made this deal seem way bigger than it actually was, when really you look at the thread, it was pretty productive. For Reddit, it is incredibly pretty civil. And even a big thing that the article leaves out is the guy responds to Matt Mercer thanking him for responding, and overall if you look at it, it's a pretty actual civil discussion. Like, everything I saw was productive. It's like 600 comments and most of them I saw were fine. I've never seen that on Reddit before. It was crazy, and the article just leaves it out and just really just gives you the play-by-play of Matt's response, then completely forgets the thread existed. So yeah, check the thread. Now I know I'm nitpicking a bit here, but Matt only said he was a bit heartbroken. Other than that, he gave really solid advice and a good response to the guy, and it all ended well. So I just feel the article really was trying to stretch this narrative that Matt was heartbroken and bothered by it. Now, I'm not saying this is all the article's fault. There's probably a lot of factors all built into this. I just don't think the article helped at all, and really probably made the situation a little bit worse for some people that really had no idea what was going on. But the main thing I want to say is, something I've noticed is this entire conversation, I never see one thing get brought up that is prevalent amongst any fandom, any group, especially gaming these days. Especially when any kind of group gets bigger, more swollen, more people come in, and that is the very concept: gamers can be toxic. Alright, stop rising up out there, gamers. Calm down. Put your pitchforks and torches down. Now, main thing I wanted to say is, I'm not trying to make a blanket statement that all of us are toxic for either buying into this or maybe believing that there could be a correlation. I just think if a player has incredibly high expectations for DM and will not accept anything they try and do otherwise, or a DM takes it where a player has these insane expectations for him, tries to force them on them, and instantly writes it off that it's all Matt Mercer's fault, it isn't the one person's responsibility at all, I think that's kind of toxic, I'm not going to lie. Because it seems something other than the person itself is taken to blame, when I don't think anyone can deny there's been toxicity in the fandom before. Just think back. You ever played a board game, a video game, just a game on the playground with someone that was ruining the fun for everybody? Those people exist. That's just how it is. And that's just an unfortunate side effect of a Critical Role making it more accessible and known to everybody. Some of them people are going to slip in, and that's just their main point of reference. So I don't think it's right for make Matt Mercer just boogeyman for everything bad and toxic. Because we have experienced it before. Everyone at this point has probably been in an Xbox Live chat back in the day, especially around my age. Y'all know what it was like.
Stop shouting, who do you think you are?
When you ask me, it seems like these people just wouldn't be fun to play with either way if they're really as bad as you make it out to be. Because most of these conversations I look at, it seems like you could just have a simple conversation with your players and make it better. Like just, that's what I recommend, is if someone's trying to force expectations on you or try and get you to change how you play, whether it be a DM or a player, just sit them down outside of the game and be like, hey, this is just how I like to play, and as long as everyone's having fun, I don't see a problem with it. Like, there's obviously some toxic behavior that should be addressed if it's a big problem, but some of these things where I just hear like someone say, hey, Matt Mercer does this like this, maybe you like this better, or a DM saying, hey, you players, Critical Role, they role play and act a whole lot more, you should do this. And I don't think it's fine to try and improve yourself, but you try and force that on someone, that's not a good thing. Everyone shouldn't be forced out of their comfort zone like that. Like, if they want to, they should try and improve themselves. But they shouldn't do it because you're telling them to. Because I would think a reasonable player or DM would look at this situation and be like, oh, my DM isn't someone with 15 experience doing D&D and makes nearly all of his own terrain and figures and paints them all. Or my players aren't all these crazy actors and just very talented people. Maybe we should dial down our expectations a bit because we're not them and just have fun with it our own way. But apparently that just doesn't happen. That's impossible. That conversation just cannot happen. And even if it does and someone refuses to back down to the point where they need to have a Critical Role game, there is 2 books to do it now. There is The Explorer's Guide to Wildmount, their most recent campaign, and the Tal'Dorei campaign setting. This one is officially licensed by D&D, so this is a canonic setting in their multiverse. So that means if you really have a problem with it and just don't want to play a game that your DM runs, you can get these books and run a game yourself or try and shift it more to that. You don't have to force that on people. I would also ask people to really think about it from new players' perspectives on what their mindset may be like, because there's some people out there that truly have no idea what D&D is like and have no point of reference. I was one of those people. I grew up with literally no internet connection, and in my small town there was a lot of mixed beliefs on what was okay and wasn't okay, and I know I'm not the only one in America. You hear stuff like this happening all the time. And to give you an example of how bad it was when it came to things being kept from me, I've comprised a list of all the things I've been told at one point in my life by an adult was bad or would rot my brain or of the devil. Now to clarify, only a few of these are my parents. My parents were pretty lenient and trusted me to make my own decisions, but they had an inside view of them. Most of these are pretty crazy other adults or teachers I had in my life that were telling me what I was into was bad. And to go over this list, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Supernatural, Magic the Gathering, My Little Pony, Family Guy, non-denominational churches, Harry Potter, Ed, Edd n Eddy, Black Cauldron, the Disney movie, violent video games in general, and this one was particularly an arcade shooter. I asked my uncle if I could play. Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Christmas! This Is the End, the Seth Rogen, James Franco, and all the other actors movies. It was okay. Metal music, Eminem, the rapper, Lil Wayne, arguably a rapper, Soulja Boy, Naruto fan animated videos on YouTube, animated in Flash, Fred, the YouTuber, and Dungeons and Dragons. These were all things I was growing up were told were bad. I was into a lot of them because I just found a way around them. Not Fred though. I was not into Fred. But that's what I was grown up told was bad. So D&D was this mysterious dark force for me. I had no idea what it was like. Getting into my first game, I had no idea what to expect. And I made a video on it. It was terrible, but still. What do you expect these people to also have similar backgrounds to think when they get into D&D? They're told this dark, mysterious thing. Then they see it looks like the super fun thing that a lot of people are doing. They may have high expectations. They may get hyped up on it. You've all played Cyberpunk 2077. You know how bad hype can be sometimes. Don't you get that? Can you get it? Am I appealing to you, fellow gamers? How do you do, fellow kids? All in all, I just want to say there's toxic players on both camps, and I'm worried what'll happen if this continues. Because I just see both sides get pushed further and further away till people that never even seen Critical Role before just instantly hate it. And people just hate older fans of D&D because they all think they just hate new players. And that idea is just going to destroy the game instead of make it better. Or at least just make it to where we're all bitter toward each other. We're in a spot right now where tabletop RPGs is amazing. Because there are so many people that want to play them. That was always the biggest struggle I have heard for the longest time, is finding people to play with, or just schedules not lining up. Now there's plenty of people that we could probably play with. What's the problem? Well, quarantine ending, of course. But still, the amazing thing about tabletop RPGs is there's so many different books to fit so many different playstyles and preferences. Why can't we accept there's different people that are into the same preferences and playstyles in the same game? We should just let people do their own thing and just have fun with it. Because even if we don't agree with it, they have other people that they may agree with and want to do with it. Just let them be them. And I feel like I'm a little passionate about this because I have personal experience with it. One of my players was in a similar situation to this. Amarok from the Arcane Gate, our Saturday night Twitch stream, he was actually a person who only knew about Critical Role and just started playing D&D a year ago with us. I mutually met him. He never had any experience with it, but wanted to try. He was becoming friends with his sister, so I said, yeah, of course, come on, play. And he took to it so well. I have seen very few people that just were so natural at the game. And that's because watching Critical Role, he had an idea how roleplay worked, generally how dice worked, stuff like that. It took a little bit to figure out some of the mechanics, but he took to it so well. It was crazy. And he jumped in at like level 8. And so first time player, he had a lot to figure out. So when I see this, I only see the potential in what someone can become and not this person that they're making out to be villainized on the internet. Because if he learned, other people can. You can't tell me they can't. And I even jokingly said to him when we started, well, hey, we're not a bunch of professional voice actors, so we can't do what Critical Role does. And he laughed it off and said, oh, I didn't expect you to. So that kind of wrote off the stereotype about him instantly. And the DMs out there, if you feel like you're being crushed under the expectations, that's okay. Being a DM isn't easy. I mean, you're literally running an entire world for your friends in your head and having to describe everything. Manage all the insanity they're pulling on you every freaking step of the way without railroading them. And that's okay. But we also shouldn't demonize Matt Mercer or Critical Role or just popular streamers in general for setting these expectations high. Our priority as DM should be everyone's having fun. That should be a player's priority as well, but for the DM, he is the fun manager. He is the fun master. That's another good word for DM. If you don't like DM, you want to be GM or whatever. But what matters is we all make sure everyone's having fun. And for that to be said, you have to have fun in the first place. That's one of the biggest struggles I had as a DM when I realized everyone was having fun except me. And my players actually said, hey, it doesn't look like you're having that much fun. And I realized I was catering too much to them and not what I wanted. You have to learn how to say no every now and then. And if they're trying to push expectations on you, you should just sit them down and be like, hey, this is how I want to do it, okay? And if they keep persisting after that, they may not be a good fit for your table. And that's okay. Like I said, there's books out there and other things they can do that can fit them more. That shouldn't be a hard thing. Like, obviously, it isn't easy, but it shouldn't be something you're just dreading to do. You should have an honest conversation with them, because it's better to just break it off there than just be completely miserable for an entire game. Because it's going to show, it's going to reflect, everyone's going to suffer for it. So that's just something we have to accept in the end. Everyone has their own style, whether it's the really roleplay heavy games, whether it's the grindhouse games, whether it's just one battle after another, a gauntlet of boss fights. That's up to them. I played all different styles, all of them have their own merits. You just gotta find a group that really fits for that. But, it made it all the way to the end. Thank you for listening to my Batman ramblings. But, TLDR, chill, people! Why is it so hard just to have fun? Have fun! Play, dang it! Just play! My lord, what's wrong with you? In all seriousness, thank you for making this far. If you like this video, like it, and you have any serious thoughts about the Matt Mercer Effect, feel free to leave a comment. I do want to have a discussion about this. I am seriously worried what's going to happen if we just keep on sitting on the other side of the fence throwing crap at each other. We really need to meet in the middle or just agree to disagree, but us constantly taking pot shots at each other, that's not going to solve anything. Because there's definitely merits to each side, but we really just can't lump it all up to it being Matt Mercer's fault, breaking into your house, forcing you to play one way, and that's it. We really just need to all just get back to having fun and just, whether it's dialing back your expectations, dialing back, whatever, it's fine. But in all seriousness, I see a lot of people in particular complaining when they get sent like some of Matt Mercer's GM tips. I can imagine if people are saying like, hey, you don't do this right, do this, that's fine, but as GMs, we shouldn't be afraid to improve ourselves either. We should always be working to improve ourselves, whether it's learning new storytelling techniques, getting better at voice acting, figure painting, terrain designing, whatever. We should always be working to improve ourselves when it comes to our craft. It's an art form in a way. So, yeah, let's just all have fun with it, guys. Please. Seriously, please.